Welcome to AI for Everyone, the podcast that demystifies artificial intelligence and makes it useful for everyone, especially teachers, students, employees, small business owners, and lifelong learners. I'm your host, Brett Hansen, a 25-year veteran teacher with years of experience exploring, implementing, and teaching AI. As a Google and ISTE educator, I'm here to help you navigate this quickly changing world with confidence, curiosity, and a focus on ethical, practical use. Each month, we'll explore AI from 4 different perspectives important to everyone. We'll start with AI in education, featuring interviews with top educators and AI education experts. Week 2 is AI in focus, a deep dive into a single powerful concept or tool. In week 3, we'll explore AI in action, where we'll have a practical workshop on a critical skill or discuss a pressing ethical issue. And we'll round out each month with AI in business, bringing you the latest updates and recommendations for small businesses and the workforce with my business co-host, Andrew Clayden. This structure ensures we're always covering the practical tools and future-ready skills you need to succeed and grow. So whether you're new to AI or ready to level up, you're in the right place. Let's get started. So it's time for our monthly AI for Business report that is primarily dedicated to helping small business owners, entrepreneurs, their employees and workers, and basically anyone who's interested in what's going on at the cutting edge of AI, because we all know that businesses are out front with the new technologies. Once again, I'm your host, Brett Hansen, the creator and CEO of Hansen Education Services, and we are joined by my business co-host, a bright young man, a marketing manager from quantum technology, Andrew Clayden, and he's going to be with us once a month to fill in what's going on in the business world. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing well, Brett. Thank you so much for having me on here. As you said, I'm the marketing manager at Quantum Technologies. We're a local IT company, but I personally and I guess professionally do have a vested interest in artificial intelligence. Even before I started working here, I used it personally. Now I use it professionally every day. And I teach about it out in the community as well. So I think there's a lot for us to talk about, and I'm very excited about having these conversations with you.
Great, me too, and appreciate it. So today we're going to end up talking about the topic of productivity and workflow automation. It is a problem for many small businesses and entrepreneurs because owners and people getting started are overwhelmed by administrative tasks. They often want to do the connection to people, the creative strategic growth stuff, but they get bogged down with the administrative tasks, and therefore they lose out on a lot of personal time and just things they want to do in life. So one possible solution is to leverage workflow automation with artificial intelligence in order to reclaim some of that time. And therefore our goal with this episode is to demystify some of that technology so that we can all just get started. We can do something simple and small and then have a better understanding, so then we can decide whether or not we want to, purchase something or do it on our own. But before we do that, we're going to start with the AI business news, a quick report of usually 3 or 4 things that are going on. And the goal is that we pick things that are connected, at least in some way, to our topic. So Andrew's going to jump in whenever he realizes that something should be mentioned. But the first one is a story that features how much AI is becoming an everyday utility driven by practical needs. AI is rapidly weaving itself into the fabric of our daily lives, shifting from a novelty to a necessity. We probably all experienced some of that. But according to the 2025 State of Consumer AI report by Menlo Ventures, nearly 2 billion people are now using AI on a regular basis. And the study highlights a utilitarian consumer trend where individuals, especially students and professionals, are adopting AI not for exploration or just to go check it out, but to accomplish existing tasks faster and more efficiently. Now, this widespread practical adoption sets the stage for AI's deeper integration into business operations. Now, me personally, I use it all the time as a teacher. Andrew, what do you see?
Well, I find this really interesting, not at all surprising to me, but interesting because when I teach my classes on AI out in the community, I'll often start by asking people if they've ever used AI before. A lot of the people that I talk to are older. Many of them are still struggling to use just their computer in the day to day. So when I ask them if they've ever used artificial intelligence, they all say no, no hands go up. And then I ask, has anybody Googled anything within the last couple months? They all raise their hand and I go, congratulations, you guys are all using
Yeah.
AI. It's not only one of those things where you can have a dedicated AI program, but there is AI integrations in almost
Yep.
everything that we use. If you use any Google products, any Microsoft products, even Apple products to a certain degree at this point, every single one of them has some AI integrations that you either have been using without noticing it, like to use because it is more handy, or get frustrated with because you don't quite understand how it works or aren't getting the results that you want from it. But the 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 study saying 2 billion people are using it does not surprise me at all.
Yeah. It's more and more a part of our lives, even whether we know it or not, like you said. And this leads us into the second news bite, which is that the global AI race is really heating up because of all this usage. And it's creating a competitive market for users that benefits everyone who's using AI, but definitely small business owners. And so this surge in demand is fueled by global competition, which is leading to more options, which is better for us. An article in the Economic Times details how countries like India have become key battlegrounds for AI giants. And this fierce rivalry results in more accessible and localized subscription patterns. And it ultimately benefits small businesses and entrepreneurs because the prices come down and we get to use more of those simple features, more powerful tools. Do you see any of that at Quantum?
I definitely notice it specifically when I'm trying to use um, like the different main like AI agents.
Mm-hmm.
We'll use agent as the term right now, despite, we'll talk about it a little bit later. But when I go between things like OpenAI's ChatGPT or Grok or Claude or Gemini, any of these, what I do find is a lot of times you'll see kind of the big major features coming out and being highly talked about for the premium tiers, and then those features after a couple months
Right.
being relegated to the free tiers.
Yep.
And at first I was like, okay, so why open these up to everybody? Like, aren't you kind of giving it all away when you do that? But I think the way that the competition works in specifically this market is when you have, it's all about getting people in the door, right? Why would you use one AI over the other? Well, this can do this and this can do this. And if I can try it for free and I get that dopamine hit or I get that thing done that I was trying to use it for, now that I'm starting to get in the ecosystem a little bit, it becomes easier for me to go, well, I'm running out of, my monthly limit. Oh, I wish I could do this. This little feature is a little bit better. And that gets you into the payment model.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm seeing this competition being really interesting in once you get in the door, you're kind of stuck with it. I early on got really into ChatGPT, and it's really hard for me to like get excited about the other models because even though something new will come out that looks interesting, I am really tied to ChatGPT. I've used it for, almost 2 years at this point. My model is very well trained to what I use it
Yeah.
for. So to think it's almost like getting a new barber. You're you're sitting there like, oh man, it seems easy enough to just go get another haircut, but it's like they're not going to cut my hair the same way that my barber of 5 years has been cutting it. And I'm going to have to reteach them, and we're going to have to come up with a whole bunch of new things to talk about in the chair, and it just becomes a huge mess. It's
Yeah.
exactly the same thing over here.
Well, I don't really need to worry about that too much. For me, it's an easier question, but I do
That, yeah,
experience that too.
that's
I used ChatGPT a lot for a while because it was really the main thing. But as soon as Gemini or Google had a decent model with Gemini, I started using it, tried to do it as equally because as a teacher, that education workspace has become so integrated. And now I love Gemini 2.5 Pro. I still use
yep.
ChatGPT, especially now that 5 is out. I like 5, but I definitely like them both.
Well, and I have a coworker too that he is exactly the same as me, but with Gemini.
Yeah.
He's used Gemini the whole time it's been available. He's very deeply into that flow of stuff. And I think it's actually beneficial to have multiple people using different models. There have been times where I've gotten an answer for ChatGPT that I was like, I feel like this is good, but I'm not quite sure. And I'd bounce it over to him and be like, can you run this through Gemini and see what it thinks? And then you start having them consult each other and try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're asking the same type of questions in your own model, it may not be able to self-reflect as easily.
Yeah. And that brings us to the third news bite. A recent review by Synthesia highlights how platforms like Canva have seamlessly integrated AI design features. Um, and this is expanding the democratization of these tools, once again, making it more and more making them more and more accessible, more and more affordable, and they're leading to tools like Zapier and Jasper AI, which make automation and sophisticated content creation a lot easier for non-experts. So an analysis in the same report was reported by EVNE developers, and they noted that AI now assists with the entire startup process. So from generating things like wireframes to improved pitch decks, this expanded set of tools significantly lowers the barriers for entry level new ventures and startups for things people like me. Like my Hands Education Services is a side thing. I'm a teacher. That's my main thing through the year. But in the summer, I really try hard to do as much as I can with it, and then a little bit of extra. But these new tools and then the connections with these affordable products like Zapier and Jasper AI are really making it easier to start your own small business or to get going on some project that needs AI.
Yeah, I think jump-starting a project is one of the like my go-to things. If I'm going to use AI and I need to just either brain dump and try to get my thoughts organized or have somebody to bounce things off of, that's kind of where I jump in. But what I found interesting about this and how AI is making creative tasks more accessible, I have a background in design, I have a background in photography and video editing. And while I am used to and trained on and have a lot of experience in professional video suites and editing suites, sometimes it's just more fun and quicker to use something like Canva with some AI in it
Yeah.
rather than doing the entire flow. So there's times where it's like, yes, I could build this whole thing from scratch. I know how to do it and I could make it look exactly the way that I want to, but I might have a little bit more fun. It might feel a little bit better and it might be a little bit easier if I had a program like Canva kind of take the wheel from me a little bit. So not only do I see it lowering the bar of entry, but I think that professionals have a huge use case for it as well.
Yeah. So some of the other, successes have to do with saving a lot of time through this process, whether it's, an actual, um, a program like Zapier that's doing work for you, or if like you and I, you're just using AI to optimize and make things a lot more efficient. But 2 to 3 hours a week for most people, if not more, and um, some of the businesses are talking about 150% increases. So it's worthwhile. But there are also some problems and some misleading bits of information. We always want to give a reality check on the show. We don't want it to all be, roses and puppies and whatnot. So a recent MIT study cited in the Times of India sent some waves of concern through the tech world when they revealed that approximately 95% of generative AI projects in large enterprises are failing to deliver a meaningful return on their investment. And it's a really, really big number. And the research suggested that it was largely due to the learning gap, that they're implementing these in big industry or enterprise corporations, and they have a tendency to invest in the flashy newest thing because they don't want to get left behind, but their employees don't know how to use it. And so this is a really important issue. We've got to learn how to use AI efficiently, or these tools won't work.
Right. I could also see a contributing factor here being in what I like to call, or what I like to look at as like the journey in the product. And maybe we should have a conversation at some point down the line about art and AI and how they intersect. Because there's a lot of people who have huge complaints about AI in the art world, because people can create art from whole cloth just with a text prompt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Without getting into how I see it one way or the other, I definitely feel like AI is a tool to help you along in your processes. I've yet to be shown any proof that it can be the process or that it can be the product at the end of the day. So while I definitely use it to create things for my process, every single one of those things needs to have my touch in some way in order for them to be, meaningful. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these failure numbers are coming from companies that are trying to replace large swaths of their programming with AI.
Yeah.
Because like when I think about all of the things that we do with Quantum, we have a team of 30 people. If every single one of those people used AI to do like to help with their tasks, that would increase our efficiency. That would scale our ROI like crazy. But if we decided to get one AI to try to do quantum for us, that would fail pretty miserably, right?
Yeah.
It's not so much in like, okay, now I'm going to get a model together that's going to do all of it for me. It's too ambitious, it's too big, um, and I just have not seen, I haven't really seen any meaningful final products that are mostly AI.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
There
do.
always needs to be that human touch. I think it's a wonderful tool for making things faster, more efficient, streamlined. But in terms of taking over the whole stack, I I'm pretty ambitious with my vision for the future with AI, and I don't think we're there in the next 5 or even 10 years.
Yeah. I personally don't want to get there. I don't want to get to that point. I love AI in many ways. I find it interesting, exciting, dynamic, but I don't want to get to the point where I feel like AI is, replacing people completely.
Right.
But I imagine that there are a lot of other people who look at what I'm doing at school and in other places and think, you're promoting this in a way that's going to result in fewer employees here or there. But I completely agree. I don't want too much AI. I don't want too much of any technology or tools. So I agree completely. So we always want to talk a little bit about the toolkit or the things that people can use. There are all kinds of tools that will help with administrative and financial aspects of AI, marketing and sales, customer service, and operations. And people probably heard about most of these, but we just definitely want to mention some of the actual products. Like I've mentioned Zapier a couple of times. I haven't actually used it yet, but I've run into it numerous times. And I think I'm going to open up a free account because you can do 100 tasks. They're called 100 simple zaps, where you can just get a feel for it and see how it works. So I never even heard of Make before starting this research, but I think I'm going to give Zapier a try.
Yeah,
Which
I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on it because I'm familiar with kind of old school Zapier where it is very basic coding. So if this happens,
Yeah,
then this happens. It triggers like that.
yeah.
I'd be really interested to see what your experience with it now, in terms of how much AI integration it has at making these things more efficient. Because I mean, that's a huge thing. We use probably hundreds of different zaps throughout Quantum to link things to other things. But I'd be curious how AI has affected that process.
Yeah. Well, most likely I'll be sharing with you things you already know because I'm just getting started. If you guys are using it, and more, it'll be more likely that I'll be sending you an email asking what I'm doing wrong because it doesn't seem to be that productive. But there, the other tools, of course, are the basic ones like ChatGPT and Gemini. And I recently tried Claude. Have you used Claude
I've
for?
never used it, but it's always been on my radar. I've always enjoyed creative writing and using AI as like a creative writing idea generator and bouncing stuff off of. And I believe that that's how Claude was first introduced as like specializing in that. So I haven't used it myself, but I know of it very well.
Yeah. So finally, in the news, according to a report in the Economic Times, small language models are promising greater efficiency and control and privacy for more and more users. I find this very exciting because of the environmental effect of the large, big models. So these SLMs are making agentic futures for small businesses more practical. And according to NVIDIA research, they are seeing that these compact models are cheaper, faster, and offer better privacy and control for small businesses. And this efficiency enables powerful AI applications to run on local devices, removing the high costs and data security issues of the large cloud-based models. Now, I can envision this, but I think it would probably take a little bit more technology and perhaps a more expensive computer than I have available. But this is an interesting possibility for small businesses who want to move into agentic AI.
Yeah, that's the dream, right? To be able to have something closed to your business, something specific to your business that runs locally on your server. It frees up any question that you might have about privacy concerns. I know that that's one of the big things just talking to the layman out and about when I tell them that Apple is bringing AI to their iPhone. They're like, well, I don't want Apple to have all my pictures and text messages and all this stuff. And it's like, well, they already do.
Right.
But the privacy concern, I can see where you're coming from here. So I think this streamlined, more efficient, more focused model is probably the dream for most businesses.
Yeah.
If Quantum could have a locally running model that handled all of our needs, that would be definitely the way that we would go. It just isn't totally viable yet for what we're using it for.
Yeah, I imagine some of those, like, ChatGPT released their older models as open source after they launched ChatGPT 5, which was very powerful. I think 5 is better, but IO 3 or not 4 were good models, and so hopefully those would become available for businesses. Now, this gets us to our main topic, which is productivity and workflow automation. And this hyper personalization is now becoming a reality for small businesses. Have you guys done any personalization or productivity or any workflow or anything like that at Quantum?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can tell you just in the way that I work. When I talk to my peers in the marketing world, specifically like the MSP marketing world, many of them talk about their like custom GPTs or custom gems, those types of things. And I hadn't really seen a lot of success in that sort of personalization to start with. What I did see success with is just using a model every day, having it learn from me, that sort of thing. If I were to go to anybody else in this business and have them request a material that I might need using their own version of ChatGPT, it would not give them what I'm getting, right? Mine is very much dialed in to give me exactly what I'm looking for. So, how I use this in a day to day, I mean, I can basically take any query, anything that I might need to do, respond to an email, or put together marketing materials or um, training materials for the staff, anything like that. I can put it in as basically as I want into my program, and it knows exactly the type of language that I'm looking for. It knows when to create text that speaks to a client, when to create text that speaks internally. Um, it it has really made my content creation so much quicker, so much more effective and efficient. it used to be early on, everything I'd put in, I'd go back and forth 5 or 6 times, really edit it, get what I wanted. But after doing that now for 2 years, it's kicking out exactly what I'm looking for 99% of the time.
Yeah. And that is that sort of first level or phase of productivity, automation, and workflow. Um, I do use gems and custom GPTs. I like them a lot. I have like anything that I create that I want for me that has to do with, say, for this podcast or for um, social media or anything like that. I make a gem because that's under my account. And then for things for work, I use I create custom GPTs because we have a couple of chat GPT accounts specifically for that. But I find them extremely helpful and effective. The one thing I like about the custom GPTs better is that you can share them. Gems you can't share. So it's a little bit more personal with the gems, but I am improving that flow as well. A few things about the productivity and workflow automation that are important for basically all businesses is that every business owner and entrepreneur wants to save time and get more done. And so when we start moving beyond like the personal productivity and workflow automation and going to a business one where they're, say, using Zapier to automatically send email responses, this stuff makes me a little uncomfortable simply because I get nervous because I don't understand it very well. But I definitely think that is the way of the future. And I imagine that, companies like Quantum would benefit enormously from that kind of automation. Do you guys do any of that, like automatic email response and organization stuff?
Well, I can tell you that we have the program that we use to kind of run all of our email has, or it's introducing an AI agent to be able to
Right.
do exactly this. I would say at our comfort level, we're kind of like you. We definitely want to have our hands on a little bit more than not. But what's interesting about it is it kind of is rolling out slowly and showing it to you before it does anything. Like you'll get an email in and it'll be like, hey, here's how I would respond to this. Is this okay? Go ahead and click the button to send it off. Uh, with the thought that the final version of this will be able to handle that. I think that in its like pitch document, it was like 90% of emails can be answered in this way. And it's that remaining 10% that needs your personal touch.
Right.
Um, is this something that we would explore? Potentially. I mean, as a technology company, we're open to exploring all different types of technology. Is it something that we would want to, given our local presence and the pride that we have of when you call us, you're going to talk to us kind of thing? I don't know. Uh, it's one of those interesting things where it's like, does it save time for us? Absolutely, it does. Would we lose some of our personability with it? Maybe. Kind of one of those things where you have to walk the line and see how much automation is too much automation.
Yeah, it's true. For me personally, what I've done a little bit more of is I've just started learning how to use scripts for my Google extension. I'm creating a, a reading assessment system so that we don't have to pay for a really expensive one when really we just want to make sure the students are growing. And so I think that using scripts through the Google extensions and putting them in the app script and turning Google Docs into Google Forms quickly is something that I really find helpful. And I'm not sure if it fits under this topic, but I think it does. It's automating a process. It's improving productivity dramatically, and I'm learning a lot about coding. I started doing some study in coding, taking my basic level Python and moving it up to like just a touch more than basic. So hopefully that stuff will continue to improve and get better.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have to say too, like the version of me that is a representative of quantum and an educator out in the community and somebody who gives both sides of AI, it's a little bit different than the personal me in terms of how far I would go with automation. And by that I mean like when I start to tell people about what the future of AI could look like in terms of personal automation, having an AI agent, those sorts of things. That's when I get excited about the idea of like, yeah, if I could create an AI version of myself to kind of handle all of my outgoing and incoming communications, I would do it. Like
Yeah.
I would let my AI voice answer my phone calls for me and then just text me afterwards with what I said. Like, why not? Uh, the example that I give all the time in my classes is that I love my dad, but he is the type of person who can talk and talk and talk for hours, uninterrupted. And it gets to the point where when I'm talking to him, I can like literally put my phone down, go make a snack, let the dogs out, come back, pick it up, and he's still going with
Yeah.
no break for me whatsoever. So it doesn't matter if I'm there or not. And I think that that is the perfect kind of use case for artificial Andrew. He
Yeah.
can hang out there and he can listen. We can go for 6, 10 hours. It would make my dad's day to
Yeah.
be able to talk all weekend long like that. And then I would just get a text message that would be like, he talked about oil and sports and pro wrestling, and he's coming over for dinner next week. I put it on your calendar. And I'd be like, great,
Yeah.
perfect. Win-win in that scenario.
I think I would like that a lot in some ways, but I know the one loved one in my life who tends to talk a lot on the phone would not be happy if she found out that I had used an AI to respond to her. Um,
Right.
but some of the success stories for businesses using AI to to improve their workflow, just a few examples we'll share. The first is like in e-commerce, there's a lot of AI being used to improve SEO stuff right now, and then customer analytics or preparing for new SEO searches. When I read this, I thought to myself, I wonder how long this will be relevant because it doesn't seem like SEO is going to be as important in a year or two as it is right now because so much of search is becoming AI search instead of SEO search. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I mean, this is something that I talk about kind of in my marketing circles. People will start talking about, oh, yeah, we're working on our website, we're trying to work on our SEO. And then somebody else will chime in and be like, we felt really good about our SEO, but now we're trying to get our AI searches up. And I'm sitting here like, oh my goodness, we have a whole new horizon
Yeah.
of like work to be done. Like, what does it even look like? I haven't started digging into how to best prepare your website to be crawled by an AI, but that's yeah, that is going to be the next big thing. Like, do we get to a point where nobody Googles things anymore? Like 5 years from now, is everybody asking AI all of their questions and we're not Googling anything? I think we could easily see that now. I rarely ask Google for anything other than trying to find a website. And usually I just type the name of the company in to find that website.
Yeah.
So many people don't go on websites anymore. It's all social media, aggregates, those types of things. We are kind of like on the precipice of Web 2.0
Yeah.
leaving. I
Yeah.
don't even know if we're still on Web 2.0, honestly. I don't know if we've upgraded since, but we're definitely at the event horizon of something new.
Without a doubt. And I think this is an important note for any small businesses or entrepreneurs who are listening, especially if you're just getting started in understanding this. There is a very, very, very good chance that the SEO searches will become a very small part of the internet income market and that more and more of it will transition to AI searches. I do that a lot. I don't really like the ads on Google. I know it's just a matter of time before until they figure out a way to make more money from it, but I like the fact that AI searches don't send me to uh, answers or websites that are simply paying more or manipulating the SEO process. And so I think this is something that businesses really need to consider because the 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 numbers are going to go down. Now, Google says that their web search situation hasn't changed too much, but I don't know that they're really telling the truth because they are working really hard to activate their Google AI search every time you go to Google. I mean, I
Yep.
always get sent to the AI search now. So,
Well, and it's one of those things where like we know what SEO optimized websites look like, right? I mean,
Hmm.
anytime you try to find an answer for anything, you click on a website, you scroll through, you read a bunch of stories before you finally get the answer to whatever you were asking. What does an AI optimized website look like? Is it still something that is full of any possible search terms you could ever plug in? Or are the more straightforward and useful websites going to see a resurgence in their ability to be picked up by an AI to just give you the information that you need? Um, I know it's a very fastly developing and newly developing field, and it's not one I've spent a lot of time in yet, but I'm very curious to see what the future of like an optimized website looks like.
So the Zapier product, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try to use that with that free account just to get a feel for it. And so, since you mentioned that, you guys use it, you might be getting an email from me asking for a little help or figure out what's going on. But the other
Do my
product that
best.
I've been using a little bit more now that I hadn't before is Claude, which of course is a chatbot like the others. But I used it for coding when I was trying to figure out how to get the app script for my Google extension, and where Gemini and ChatGPT did not create the script on the first try, and I had to get help from my son, who's a very good coder, to fix it. The Claude worked right away. Have you used or worked with Claude for any coding or anything like that?
I haven't. I'm very familiar with it though, and it's interesting when we talk about different generative AIs and different tools. We've mentioned a bunch of them already this episode. Things like Canva, and I recently started using Otter AI as like a
Mm-hmm.
meeting note taker for me. But it's interesting that we're in kind of the early stage of things where you have dedicated AIs for anything that you could possibly want to do.
Yeah.
Like if you Googled something you wanted to do plus AI, you would find a dedicated one. I think Claude probably started out as a creative writing one. That's when I first heard it starting to make waves against things like ChatGPT. But then eventually the big models will start to grab these other like specifications. Otter and a bunch of other AI note takers came out, and then ChatGPT got a record button where now you can just record your screen and anything happening on it, and it will uh, take your meeting minutes and stuff like that, just like Otter would.
Yeah.
Um, so we're kind of in a fun playground where we get to try all these different things, but it will be interesting to see how the big models kind of Sherlock the other things over time. Are you familiar with that phrase, by the way, in technology, being
No.
Sherlocked? So there was a years ago, Apple had a pretty miserable file structure. It was hard to navigate your files and search for things on your Mac. And so there was a very popular third-party app called Sherlock that allowed you to search through your files. And then when Mac implemented the Spotlight search, they basically drove Sherlock out of business overnight.
Yeah.
And it became a verb now. Whenever a major company implements a very popular third-party tool, it becomes Sherlocked.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if things like Otterly or Otter or Grammarly or things like that start going to the wayside as their functionality gets sucked up into all of these bigger models.
Yeah. That's like the Google Classroom tool, the Gemini options are going to be disastrous for many of the education AI programs. At least I think so, because Google has such a big market share of education. I know that I'm going to be using them, and I assume that more and more schools will do that as well. So, Andrew, is there
Yep.
anything else you want to share you think is important that people know from the business perspective about productivity and AI streamlining? Anything you want us to wrap up with?
Yeah, I guess as a final word from me, emphasizing the idea of reclaiming your time, I think is huge. It's definitely one of the things that I think about a lot as I use it both professionally and in my personal life. Um, on one hand, I'm the type of person who, once I have an idea and I'm getting started, it's really easy for me to leverage AI to make my next steps more efficient, effective, and save time that way. But I'm also kind of a procrastinator. and I can sometimes get stopped by anxiety or fear of, just putting the brain power into something like that. And I feel like I gain a lot of time on the front end of things too, where it's like, okay, I could sit on this idea for weeks and then finally do it in the 11th hour. Or I could just like brain dump into the AI and have it tell me how to get started. And then with just those little lines of text telling me my first step,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, this is so much more achievable now. I just had to get it out of my brain and onto something actionable. So I'm saving time both in the task and before the task, and that's what I really want to stress with this episode. It really, really does allow you to reclaim your
Yeah.
time.
And for people who haven't been working with a specific model for a couple years, like Andrew, give those gems and ChatGPT or custom GPTs a chance, because once you learn how to use them, oh gosh, they save an enormous amount of time, and they take away that anxiety of getting started. They take away the anxiety of trying something new, and that's what you need to do to become better with AI and to develop some kind of AI taste, which we talk about on the show a lot. That one of those essentials is AI taste and developing that feel for whatever model or platform you're using, or just AI in general. So
Yeah. I mean, it's the same exact problem that artists and writers face when they're staring at a blank screen or a blank canvas or a blank notepad. It's conquering that blank notepad, putting pen to paper for the first time can be the biggest part of the
yeah,
challenge. And I think that this helps me in non-creative ways. Like I don't have artist block, but I have chores block. I
yeah,
can't get started, and if I could just get it out of my head, then boom, I have some steps to work on.
yeah, that works for me too. So we don't know yet what episode or what topic we'll focus on next month. Andrew's going to think about some things, and hopefully he'll pick something that's really important or essential in the AI business world as he's moving through this next month. But we'll definitely have the AI business news for you, and an interesting conversation about something that's going to help you recover some of that time. Thanks again, Andrew.
Thank you so much, Brett. I'll talk to you
All
soon.
right. So perhaps the biggest takeaway from this month's business report is that AI is no longer a complex, expensive luxury reserved for large corporations. It is a tool that we can all use, or a system that we can all implement, that's helpful in many ways. And because of the global competition and development of more efficient technologies like SLMs, AI has become an affordable, accessible, and practical utility for business people, entrepreneurs, and everyday users. And this means that the barriers are coming down more and more. Another lesson is that the winning strategy is to think small and specific. And the most critical lesson comes from contrasting big companies and their losses to smaller companies and their wins. So large corporations are, losing out about 95% of the time, according to the report. And it's because they have undefined goals. But small businesses are winning because they can focus in and be tactical and not try to keep up with the biggest trends. The key is to avoid the hype and solve narrow, well-defined problems one at a time. So we don't really need to think that we have to implement AI throughout, but instead automate some invoicing or streamline some scheduling, or learn how to use an AI tool to help with your efficiency and get some time back. The third lesson is that the ROI is real, the return on investment, and it's about reclaiming time for strategic growth. The success stories aren't just about efficiency. They translate to tangible business results, scaling content by over 150% sometimes, and boosting qualified meetings by 40%. So this saves hours of manual work with every new hire and new implementation, as long as they stay focused. And the last lesson is to remember that the tools are ready and waiting. There's a rich ecosystem of no-code and low-cost platforms like Zapier, ChatGPT, Claude, Many of these things can be learned about and implemented and become part of your AI toolkit. Entrepreneurs don't need to be tech experts to start. Business owners don't have to have a degree in AI. The first step is simple. Identify one repetitive task that's currently draining your time and find an existing tool to automate it. So we hope these lessons are helpful for you, and we see you again next week. Thanks for spending time with me today on AI for Everyone. I hope this episode gave you something useful to think about and something new to try. If you enjoyed it, please tell your peers and subscribe so you never miss an episode. You're also invited to join the Hanson Education Services newsletter, where I share bonus tools, practical teaching ideas, and curated updates to help you stay ahead in a world shaped by AI. To learn more, find all the resources mentioned today, and connect with me directly, visit hansoneducationservices.com. That's where you'll find everything you need to keep growing your AI confidence. Thanks again, and remember, the most important 21st century skill is to always keep learning how to learn.